All right, so let's talk about one of the artifacts, and that is going to be your product backlog. So the product backlog is essentially all it comes down to keep a healthy product backlog is a prioritized set of work for the dev team that is created from the vision and the requirements. So remember, your vision is like that roadmap. It's that big idea of where do we want to head? We're here. Where do we want to go? Or we're here and where do you want to go? X marks the spot. But it doesn't matter. You have a start point and you have an end point in mind. And then you have some requirements to get there. These might be technical requirements. We've covered lots of requirements here. So they might be, tech requirements. They might be a time requirement. They might be different, for example, UX requirements. You want it to operate a certain point. There's a lot of different requirements that can happen. So from this, we then would build a product backlog. Product backlogs can be built in really a lot of different areas. One of them, a lot of people use something like Excel. This is sort of a rudimentary one. The only thing, if you're going to use something like that, it needs to be on a shared drive that everyone can access at any point. Remember transparency. No one's hiding the product backlog. No one ever should hide any part of the Scrum ideology or framework. Nothing should ever be hidden. So if this is going to be on Excel, it needs to be on a place that everyone at any point can access it. A lot of other tools are out there to do it. For example, I've worked on teams that use Clubhouse, which is a great sort of way to incorporate everything together. It's online. You can create cards. You can move things easily. It does charts and stuff for you, so it'll save you some time and make things a little bit easier. Doesn't really matter how it's accomplished, though. What does matter is that you have a prioritized list. Over here, you see that we have very high prioritization, medium, and then we sort of explain things, estimate it. So this is like the points or how long we think it's going to take. And then we have who is going to do each one of these objectives or who has done them or it could even be who has created. This is a product backlog I found online. So we don't really know this column, but again, this will change depending on your team. So maybe your team's going to have more columns or less columns, but you need it to be healthy, you need it to be organized, and you need it to be described. So for example, finished database versioning. That's a good priority. That's a good number one priority, but maybe the dev team's got some questions. And so maybe we have a whole document over here. So, that's our product backlog. Maybe we got ourselves an entire document just based on number one, so we can flesh that out and the dev team can get to work and they don't have to ask any questions. They already know what's going to go on from there. But the product backlog is something that the product owner is going to be maintaining. Very important here. This is a thing that a lot of people do. This is not a one-time build product. You build it, and then after every single sprint, so after a sprint completes, in your sprint retrospective, you talk to people. In the sprint review, you talk to people, and you figure out, are our priorities still like this? Maybe after all the things have been done, after everything has been talked about in your sprint review and the stakeholders have gotten a hold of what you're creating, they're like, actually, we really want this other thing to go forward. So you look at your sprint backlog and you're like, oh, okay, so we're going to move 10 up. We're going to take this and move it down. We're going to take the Explorer, move it into there, and you rearrange the entire thing so that the next sprint is more in tune with the current product backlog. This is a changing document. It's going to change basically every sprint and even throughout sprints, because once a sprint starts, a sprint is going to take all of this and put it into the sprint backlog, which is essentially just a smaller version of this that you're going to work on for the sprint. But once this is all done, you just move on. The sprint starts, and then the product owner can do all the manipulation that he needs to for the next part, and then you go ahead and you grab it all and you get ready for the next sprint. You have a good prioritized list. The product owner will then share it with the dev team. Dev team will talk about it. They'll create their new sprint backlog, and it keeps changing and so forth and so on until everything is complete. Or if you're on like a maintenance phase or something like that, things are going to keep being added and taken out and added and taken out, and the project is just going to keep moving forward just like that until at some point the project ends. Either the software will be sunsetted, it'll be removed, or something like that. Sunsetted means that you decide to no longer develop it. That happens with a lot of products as they age. You'll move on to a new place, a new area of business value for your business. But that is the product backlog, a living, breathing document that needs to be kept healthy and prioritized so that your dev team knows what to work on next and everyone is on the same page about where the project is heading.